I don't know quite how I'm going to follow it up. My mother rang me the other day, and she said, well, no, I rang them, I think, on Friday, and she said, you're going to be making a speech as well, aren't you? And I said, yes. I hadn't realised I was going to be making a speech. I hadn't thought that I was going to be making a speech, so I'm absolutely woefully underprepared. So I didn't actually prepare anything to say whatsoever. But I will say that when Dad was mentioning the eccentricities that he's given to us, hello, Mark. When he's mentioned the eccentricities that he's given to us, I think that's quite a good way of putting it, really. I mean, I am obviously, I'm my father's son, but I'm a product of both of my parents. I'm sure a lot of people, when I walked in today, it seemed as though a lot of people were looking at me as if, and they were going, my God, it just looks like Richard. Yeah. So I think that's fairly obvious, but I'm obviously a product of both of my parents. Both parts of their character go towards making me. So my dad's dreams and my mum's determination, and my mum, the way she shops frugally, and the way my dad's obsessed with music, all together. And that's what you get with me. And I'm a product of my parents, but I'm not just a product of my parents, I'm also a product of what my parents taught me. And I was trying to think about what they taught me, and if I could encapsulate what they taught me into some sort of small phrase. When I was driving up in the car today, and it made me think of a time when we were living in Littleton Panel in the late 70s, and I went to my mother in tears. I was about 7 years old, and we had that conversation that kids have with their parents. I'm sure the people that know what I mean, they're going, oh God, that one. When you go over to them and you say, why do we all have to die? And is there a God? And is there a heaven? And what are we all here for? And what's the meaning of life? And I was absolutely, inconsolable. And I remember my mother sitting there, as it were, thinking, oh God, I've got to try and explain the meaning of life to my child. And the one thing she said to me was, she said, Ian, you must never forget that the reason why you're here is because your mummy and your daddy loved each other very much, and that's why you're here. And it's always stuck with me. That thing that she said has always stuck with me. And it's because, and I didn't even really understand it at the time. I only really started to understand it as my life panned out. And I think what my mum was trying to get at was that love isn't just an emotion or a feeling. It's something which has a power. It has a power obviously has a power through children to sort of revive itself across the generations. When my little boy Milo was born, I just looked at him and went, oh my God, it's my dad. So love obviously travels through the generations just like that. So it can obviously be, it can be a children thing, but it doesn't have to be just children. I think that also what I got from my parents was, if you think of love as a power, it has a power to do things the way that you deal with other people. And specifically looking at my parents and the way they live their life, you get a sense of the love they had for each other was also sent back out to lots of other people. A lot of those people are here now. And when they send out that affection to other people, it changes their lives, it helps their lives. And it increases their own lives as a result. And it's always stuck with me, and I remember thinking about that on the way up here as we were getting ready to celebrate an anniversary. And obviously it's a hugely auspicious anniversary to share, but when I was thinking about love as more of an enduring power, something which endures and affects people outside your own life, it occurred to me that here's an anniversary that we celebrate like all anniversaries, with very, very human constraints, with time and with numbers. We celebrate with precious metals, with gold and silver or platinum or whatever. And it occurred to me that the things that I observed about my parents and the love they had for each other and the way that it worked and it endured, it occurred to me that love is something which exists outside numbers. It's bigger than numbers. It's bigger than a specific number on the top of a cake. It's bigger than all of those things. And if you believe in that enduring kind of power of love, then there's only really one thing that tends to be able to say about it, and that basically, in a sentence, is that love is forever. And I think that's the one thing that I learned from my parents. I tried to find one thing that I'd learned, and love is forever is the one thing that I've learned. And I'm incredibly glad that they've taught me that. I think I'm going to stop now. But everybody, I don't know if everybody has their glasses full and ready to actually kind of toast my parents. If you haven't, then I think a hearty round of applause would probably suffice. But everybody, from whatever names you know them as, my mum and dad, Richard and Yaz, Dick and Yaz, whatever, my parents, my mum and dad, everybody. Now my dad's going to make another speech. The bar's that way.
Yes, please do.